Because Astana is actually not so close.
Yes, it's like being from Roma to Paris.
Yeah, so it's
1
quite,
hour 40 minutes.
Yeah, so thank you for joining us
Absolutely.
today.
Great pleasure.
Italian Wine Travel with Stevie Kim.
Hello, my name's Stevie Kim and welcome to the Italian Wine Podcast. This is our second special edition of Vinitaly Kazakhstan in Almaty. And today with us we have Ambassador Antonello de Riu. Ciao. Hello, welcome.
Hello, everybody.
So first of all, I looked you up in LinkedIn. I haven't seen you in a very long time, since the Hong Kong days when you were general counsel. In your LinkedIn profile, it says Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary of Italy. Now, what does that mean exactly?
I'm the ambassador at the end of the day. It's a normal international relations denominations. Like wines, we as ambassadors, we have this title when it is a full range ambassador, because it can be also something related to a restricted mandate that we can have in some countries. Of course, it's not the case of Kazakhstan.
You've started here just in April.
Yes,
right?
the middle of it.
Right, middle of April. And prior to that, you were in Kosovo.
Yeah.
So what lessons have your time in Pristina have you carried to your work here?
Our job is, of course, always to move to one country and to one continent and a completely different culture. In the Balkans, there is a stronger presence of Italy, historically speaking. But I can say also that even here in Central Asia, I found some, especially a perception of Italy that honestly surprised me, because we don't have a long history of presence in this area of the world. Instead, I find an attraction, a natural attraction of Kazakh people, young people, towards Italy. And this is witnessed also by the huge amount of visa that every year our embassy delivers, over 30,000.
So what initially drew you to a career in diplomacy?
My father was a manager of an infrastructure company, and I was used since my childhood, early childhood, to move every 2-3 years in different parts of Italy, north, south, and central of Italy, and then even abroad. Then I settled when I was 16 in Roma, and after my university degree, I decided to embark in the public examination to enter the diplomatic career, because I wanted to repeat the life that I managed when I was a child together with my father.
So now transitioning to Kazakhstan from Kosovo, what have been your first priorities?
This is, of course, this is and remains a very important diplomatic post, a very important country for economic relations. However, my intention is also to focus a lot in what we call soft power, because Italian soft power has a power of attraction, especially towards young generations, that here in Kazakhstan could make the difference not only for cultural purposes, music, art, and of course even food and wine. But this is a general reflection also on the economic interest, because once you create a sense of Italy as a general part of the life of the people here, automatically you deliver interest, our presence, and then also our economic presence in this country. And here there is a huge potential.
I recall the ambassador, and he had told me that actually majority of the population is under 25. I don't think there's anything like this similar in the world.
I think it is one of the youngest nations, together with India, in the world. And this is a huge potential. You see that in 20-25 years, the forecast for the population growth, they talk about a double of the population. That means that actually it is 22 million people. It could be around 50 million in less than one generation. This is a huge boost to all the economy. First of all, also in the real estate, because the people are making families, and then they have new tastes. They are more exposed to the international trends. They broke up this isolation that this country historically had, especially during the Soviet Union, and so they can be influenced, and they get the influence from external factors, from other countries, and of course we have to be here, we have to position better in every sector, wine included.
Central Asia. When we think of Central Asia, of course, we think of Kazakhstan. It's increasingly seen as a bridge between Europe and Asia in certain way. How can Italian wine producers position themselves to benefit this strategic location?
There are two factors. From one side, the geography, as you mentioned, is a bridge between, and it is historically, this is the history of this area of the world, a bridge between the eastern part of the planet and the western part of the Euro-Asian continent. But moreover, there has been in the last years some geopolitical shifts that made this place much more valuable to find a new international route for trade, for international trade. And this is the way through which we can establish a better presence in this area, because we talk about the region.
So let's dive into a bit about the Italian wine. What is your impression with regards to the impression of Italian wine in Kazakhstan?
It's growing, the importance of Italian wine and also the awareness. First of all, it's not my opinion, it is data. We are the biggest importer country of wine, of foreign wine, because even here they have a small production of wine. And,
more than France and Spain and
more than France and Spain. This is an exception because, as you mentioned before, when I was in another post in Hong Kong, it was definitely different.
Yes, completely different.
Completely different. What we have to, in my opinion, to work with is the brand awareness in order to establish and consolidate our leadership. And the brand awareness, because French wine, however, is perceived always for a matter of sophistication and so prestige. Then the Spanish wines are very, let's say, more popular for their ratio between quality and especially the cost, because it's cheaper, and this can attract. But what we have as a very important economic model that we can sell in this market is the storytelling. And we need a more consolidated strategy to increase the awareness of our wines, because our wines are so diversified. I mean, in terms of variety of grapes, we are the first. And this is very difficult to explain to a country where, until 22 decades ago, the only alcoholic beverage was beer and vodka. So this is something that we have to work on. Our worry has to be to consolidate and to strengthen our position of leadership.
As the embassy, how can you be an assistance, support for the Italian wine producers who want to explore and this market opportunities in Kazakhstan?
These are the biggest promising centre, even because here there is a consolidated presence also for all the HoReCa sector, and so it is easier to sell quality products like Italian wine. What we can do and what we do, first of all, we try to give our support to initiatives like the one of Vinitaly.
And we really appreciate that.
Of course, this is a matter of fact and has to be like this. And at the same time, implementing on our in-house promotional activities. Just I mentioned the Italian Cuisine Week. Fundamental part of the Italian Cuisine Week is the promotion of our wines. So this is something that we are going to continue. Then pairing with, trying to establish on our own also relations with distributors, importers, HoReCa professionals, and at the same time in a country where social media everywhere. But here I find sort of hugely spread the utilization of this social media for economic promotion. So working also with influencers and bloggers, because in a very young country, as you mentioned before, like Kazakhstan, social media is more important than in others.
So you were the lead with the Italian Cuisine Week. So you have a lot of experience with food. This is my personal opinion. As I started getting into more food, first of all, Italian wine producers think that wine is the absolute protagonist. But I believe that actually it's the food. And wine is a complementary item to the food. I personally believe that also to be successful Italian wine, you have to be able to introduce Italian wine with local food, not just with Italian food.
I completely agree. The variety of grapes of our production is so huge that you can easily pair with any cuisine in the world. And the Kazakh one that is mainly focused on the consumption of meat, it matches perfectly with some of our wines. And I have to say also that in Kazakhstan there is an interesting trend also for, especially among the young generation, it's also the bollicine. So the Prosecco.
Okay, the
and the
sparkling
Prosecco,
wine.
much more than the champagne, is perceived as a beverage, alcoholic beverage that can be used when there is something, an important celebrations or important nights. But at the same time, wine, also the red wines and also even the white ones, are particularly appreciated and growingly appreciated. Even typology of wines that probably we could not imagine in this country, because we can imagine that Kazakh people as newcomers in this kind of consumption, they would be attracted by the great brands like Chianti, like Amarone, Barolo. No, also Primitivo, also Nero d'Avola are increasingly appreciated here.
What would you consider a home run achievement at the end of your tenure?
Of course, the economic interests are fundamental, because it's essential part of international relations. But economic relations depends on contracts. Contracts have a termination, a deadline. Once they terminate, maybe there is a consolidation of the know-how, and then they can disappear. If you are able to influence, to change, and to enter through what we call the Italian soft power, we will be able to establish permanently in this country, and this will give a great service also to the economic side, because if you are naturally inclined, you better understand the culture of one country, in this case Italy, here in Kazakhstan. Probably the leadership, the future generation, they will feel more attracted also by economic products of our country. And so promotion of Italian wine and food is fundamental to establish a closer link, a closer bridge with this country.
Okay, so one final question. What message would you like to leave for your Kazakh partners and consumers with regards to the value of Italian-Kazakh cooperation and friendship?
Here is a very sensible also the matter of visa. So I can say that during my mandate I will do the best we can in order to satisfy the growing demand of Italy through visa that there is in this country. So closer attention to this, whether there are always rules to follow, and at the same time to bring more Italy here in this country, more and more Italy in this country through these events like the Vinitaly, because I think that the wine together with food is the best tool to create bridges between two different people with two different cultures and to make them friends forever.
Okay, and I think this is a good place to wrap here with, thank you very much for joining us. My name is Stevie Kim, Italian Wine Podcast, Vinitaly Kazakhstan Almaty edition with the ambassador, extraordinary, plenipotentiary to Italy in Kazakhstan, Antonello de Riu.
Ciao.
Chin chin.
Cheers.